Okay, everybody, let's review the lesson. So we were talking about exponents. The first part of this should be a review of algebra. When we multiply the same bases, we add exponents, right? So then if we x squared plus times x cubed, it's really having two of these with three of these, which makes really x to the fifth, because like x times two of them, times an x times an x times an x, which means x times itself 5 times. Power rule is when you take an exponent to an exponent, and what we do is we multiply exponents. My example is x squared cubed, we get x to the sixth. The same thing as x squared times another x squared times an x squared, because we've got it cubed, 3 of them, and it makes a total of 2, 4, 6 of them. Okay? The division rule, when you divide the same bases, you subtract exponents. Okay, and I showed an example of that. X to the seventh over x to the third. Three of these would cancel 3 of these, and you're left with 4 on the top, or you basically just subtract exponents. Okay. On the other side, we looked at some examples. First example, I multiplied the whole numbers, 6, and when I multiply the same bases, I just add exponents, x to the sixth. I looked at the power rule. X to the fourth cubed is like x4, 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 but it's easier just to multiply the exponents and get x to the 12th. I did a harder problem where a combination of both. So I've got 2x squared times 3x cubed to the fourth power. I said, okay, what do we got to do first? By order of operations, you must do this first. So we did 3 to the fourth power is 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is 81. And I multiplied x to the 12th. Then I multiplied, I got 162, 2 times 81. And then I have a total of x to the 14. Did another hard problem, but we can do it. It's got a combination of two things. First, I multiplied. I got a 12. Do the whole numbers. X to the seventh, because I add exponents. And then I divided by 2x to the cube, so the 12 divided by 2 is 6. 3 of these x's, cancel 3 of these x's, just x to the fourth. Okay. Then I kept going. We talked about negative exponents. I said, okay, negative exponents. Those are in the wrong place. If you see a negative exponent, think fraction. So x to the negative n is really 1 over x to the n. X to the negative 3 then would be 1 over x to the 3. If they're both negative, then we've got to move them both, right? So if they're both negative, this one has to come down. We move them, okay? Think about fraction. Move that one down, make it positive. Move that one up. X to the negative n becomes x to the positive n. When you move it down, x to the negative n, or sorry, y to the negative n moves up, becomes y to the positive n, okay? And then I just showed an example, same thing. If it's negative, it's in the wrong place. Think fractions. I move this one up to make it a positive exponent. I move the x to the negative 3 down to make it a positive, okay? So whenever you see negative exponents, you think fraction, okay? So then I looked at another example, okay? So then we talked about fractional exponent. If you see a fractional exponent, and what you do is if the exponent's a fraction, the top part of the fraction is like the power, and the bottom part of the fraction is the root. So we looked at an example of a number of 8 to the power 2/3. That's a cube root. That's my root. And a power of 2. I have to do one or the other, so I took the cube root of 8, gave me 2, because 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And then I went 2 to the fourth. 2 to the fourth power is 4. And you can do it another way, okay? So that's what I have for today. I also had a worksheet. On our homework today, we changed these to exponential form to square root form, so x to the 1/2 is square root of x. Therefore, x to the 1/4 is the 4th root of x. That's a square root of x, square root of x, square root of x, okay? And then we did just the opposite. We have an x to the 1/3, fractional exponent. We have a 5x to the 1/2, and we have an x to the 1/2, x to the 1/2, x to the 1/2. If we add exponents, we get x to the 1 1/2, okay? So that's what I have. This was the worksheet. I did the first 6 for you. If you need help, come see me.